Hey everyone, welcome back to Crime Wire Weekly. A little look at the topics we're going to be covering for today. We have got a jam-packed show. We're going to start off in Mississippi, and we're going to talk about the independent autopsy of Nolan Wells has been released. We're going to discuss all of that. We're going to talk about I guess you could call it an incident, Kelly Jennings, in the Baton Rouge Parish Prison.
Mm-hmm. Incident, to put it lightly.
Look, two inmates, and it's actually not a funny situation. Two inmates sexually assaulted another inmate inside the Baton Rouge Parish Prison in a very horrific way. We're going to talk about that. Risque license plate is turning heads in Florida. Great story.
It really
utterly unrelated to crime, but so good we had to bring it to you.
Yeah, it's cute.
That's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to go to New Jersey, where America's Most Wanted has captured another criminal, someone on the top of that list after 20 years. We'll tell you that story. That's a good one. New York, we're going to go there, and we're going to talk about a canine who died after being left in a hot vehicle. Second week in a row we've covered that.
Yeah, I was going to say it's not a repeat. It's actually another.
That's right.
Another case.
That's right. And with it being the dead heat of summer, even in New York, it's there's like a heat wave going on right now. Obviously, something you got to watch for is your pets and canines in this situation. We're going to go to the cruise, I guess, off the coast of the United States to talk about 6 cruise passengers who were arrested recently.
And it's not for what you think. It's not for like unruliness.
That's right. We're going to have another episode of Foolish Felons, another episode of Lustful Lawbreakers, another episode of the True Crime Time Machine, and we even have an update on the Florida man and the vacuum cleaner situation. Kelly
you'll remember this one.
Said we have to cover this update, and then we'll go into overtime. So let's get into it. I'm Jim Chapman.
And I am Kelly Jennings.
All right, Kelly. I was trying to think of some nonchalant things to discuss before we got into the topics.
We're supposed to be in the middle of a hurricane that's hitting right now, but it's sunny. It's sunny and breezy.
Yeah, there's nothing going on down here. That was like for us that are used to this, that was like, it was nothing.
Right.
It was, a little storm.
It's kind of,
we didn't even see that.
Interesting too. And I don't mean to just do small talk, but it really is interesting whenever they start putting the hurricanes up, because I've lived here my whole life. So have you. And so a hurricane doesn't really mean much. We just have to figure out, what do we need to pick up, and do we need to tie down the trampoline? I mean, that's kind of.
Yeah, that's the typical. Of course, you get like the Hurricane Ida that came through here, through every tree in Livingston Parish.
Yeah. But then you get an unnamed storm that drowns us.
Let's go to it, and we're going to talk about this Nolan Wells case that's making all the news. An independent autopsy of 18-year-old Nolan Wells was released this past Wednesday, and it found both the cause and manner of death to be undetermined, although the autopsy could not rule out the possibility of non-accidental factors contributing to the cause of his death, nor could it rule out intentional factors. Right. So so it's basically undetermined. The findings were announced by civil rights attorney Ben Crump during a news conference at the NAACP's National Convention. Forensic pathologist Dr. Robert Mitchell Jr. was the one who conducted that examination. He detailed multiple limitations that could have prevented a more definitive conclusion. And now Wells, as you know, college football player from Ocean Springs, Mississippi, right there on the Gulf Coast. He was with a group of mostly white friends, and that's important, that adjective right there. His body was discovered by the water near the shoreline on July 6th. Local officials initially reported no immediate signs of foul play, which means they looked at the body prior to the autopsy, and there was no like gash wounds from a stabbing,
right? No shooting,
or gunshot holes, or anything like that. So they believed that he may have drowned, though the official state autopsy results, including toxicology results, remain pending. Now, Mitchell's July 19th report, released publicly Wednesday, noted significant challenge. They talked about advanced decomposition of the body, which made it difficult to assess possible bruises or abrasions on the skin. So, look, that's what you're going to have. He was in the water for 2 days, salt water at that. You're going to have decomposition, and that's going to be normal in any situation like this. Mitchell was also unable to fully examine Wells' airways and lungs for presence of water or inspect the contents of his stomach, and there's a reason for that. Obviously, he had already had an autopsy done, and so any water in the lungs at that point is not going to be in the lungs. Yeah. A lot of people don't realize that when you do these autopsies, these vital organs, they don't stay in the place, even when they're being sent to another pathologist. They don't stay in the place they were when they were initially doing the autopsy. They actually pull them all out.
Because they have to disconnect and they have to take slices, and they, if they're checking for...
You can't check it until you remove it.
Right. Like a car, you're going to take all the parts out from under the, not all the parts out. Some guy's going nuts right now. But, you're going to have to disassemble some to be able to get to the root of the problem.
That's correct. So all of that was expected.
Yeah.
The pathologist also documented a 12 by 8 inch area of red discoloration in the soft tissue overlying one of his bones in the back of his head. There were no lacerations of overlying skin and no fractures of underlying skin. For these reasons, a pathologist cannot rule out if any intervening non-accidental factors contributed to or caused the death of Nolan Wells, Mitchell wrote. And just verbalizing it that way, I had a little bit of a problem with, because that's one way or the other.
Yeah.
You can't rule it out. So it's just undetermined. The independent autopsy was performed at Mississippi State Medical Examiner's Office, and it was conducted after the initial examination. And actually, it was paid for by Colin Kaepernick, who is the former NFL quarterback, through an initiative funds for independent autopsies. So that's a good thing that Kaepernick's doing. It's like a nonprofit that pays for these things. Wells' parents, Christine and Elmore Wansley, have repeatedly called for transparency and a thorough investigation. They have questioned early suggestions of an accidental drowning, noting their son was described as an elite athlete and capable swimmer. Crump has also raised concerns about reported altercations on the boat that day, the handling of Wells' cell phone, which left the island with friends, and the overall circumstances of how Wells came to be left on the island. So that's where we're at on that. And I'm going to let Kelly say a few things, and then I've got a few things to say.
Yeah. First of all, Ben Crump gets on my nerves. Okay. And I'm just going to say it because there is a family grieving right now the loss of their son. No doubt. No doubt they love this boy. However, whenever Ben Crump gets involved, it automatically makes me question his motives, because turning this into a race issue versus a horrific, tragic loss of life, you know what I'm trying to say? And let it be what it is for now until we have definitive evidence. But now he's jumping out here and he's alluding to the fact that because his friends are white, they must have done something nefarious to him. I want to say, Ben, have you ever been out on a frickin' boat, dude? Have you ever partied out at, on an island or on a barge? You leave your cell phone in a boat. It's normal. You leave your things in the boat. You get out, you party, you drink because you don't want to lose your keys in the water. You don't want to drop your phone in the water.
And not only that, you don't have reception.
Yeah.
Out at those islands.
Yeah, and
it's not like they got cell towers right there.
Yeah, and you're with your friends. And as people who've lived on the coast, you know what I'm saying? We've lived down around water our whole lives. That is not like this aha moment that his phone was on the boat.
Right.
Like, that's just what
common.
And especially if I'm drinking, I don't bring my phone. You know why? Because I'm going to set it down or I'm going to drop it in the water. So I leave my phone on the boat all the time. I leave shit I probably shouldn't leave on the boat, because I don't want to lose it.
Yeah.
So, an undetermined autopsy too. to come out, and I saw him on yesterday on a news thing. He's got like a billboard, not a billboard, like a big poster board, like, and he's pointing like he's really, dude, I can blow up a piece of paper too and make it look like it's something it's not. Undetermined simply means it's not determined. But what we do know for a fact right now from the first autopsy, he wasn't shot, he wasn't stabbed. We know that there's no crack in his skull. We know that there's no, you know what I'm saying, someone who, like, if they would have beat him up and broken his nose or something like that, if these are athletes fist fighting or something like that, which they're trying to, make it seem like, more likely, if you know about water also, this is out on that island where there could be undertow.
There's a lot of undertow.
Yes. And so I don't care how elite of an athlete you are. There are plenty of people that were elite athletes in this world who have drowned. And so I'm not saying something didn't happen to this boy, okay? I'm not going to stand here and say there's no way anything is possible, okay? But to turn around and attack or to allude that these other kids had something to do with his death. Infer, yeah. Whatever word it is. You are causing problems that can be life-altering for them as well, when right now there is zero evidence that anything nefarious has taken place. Zero. And I don't think it's fair.
No, and actually you hit the nail on the head. These kids are actually getting death threats. They've had to shut down their social media. They are getting doxxed online. Things are showing up at their house. It really is horrible because there's absolutely no evidence that these kids had anything to do with this kid. They were all friends. And I want to get into quickly, I put together a little chart of the lies and the truth. Okay. And I'm going to give you a few of these. The lie: Nolan was the only black kid on Horn Island. The truth: not only were there hundreds of black kids on Horn Island that July 4th, Nolan was not even the only black kid in that friend group.
Yeah, it was a mixed group of friends.
Black kids in that friend group. So there were 30 kids on 3 boats just in their friend group. Now, there was thousands of people on that island. They weren't out there just 4 people, and we're going to get this kid out here and kill him. There were thousands of people, and he was amongst mixed races. Everybody was partying. Everybody was having a good time. Everybody was drinking, doing what they do. And that was the situation. Another lie: Nolan's friends did not tell anyone he was missing. The truth: Nolan's friends actually are the ones who reported him missing to the Coast Guard and are the ones who called Nolan's mother to inform her. Now, if you had something to do with this kid's death, are you going to call the mother and say, hey, we can't find Nolan? You're not going to do that at that age. You're going to run. You're going to hide. Oh, we accidentally killed this guy, whatever. Another lie: Nolan's friends went into hiding after his disappearance. The truth: Nolan's friends actually went to Horn Island the next day to look for Nolan themselves. Another lie: Nolan was isolated during the disappearance with 1 or 2 or 4 white kids. The truth: Nolan was amongst 30 people in his friend group on 3 separate boats with other black kids amongst them in that friend group. Also, that 30-person friend group was amongst 3,000 to 4,000 people boating on Horn Island that day. Now, I said it before on the last episode. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say it again. Racism is almost non-existent among football players. If you never played football, you wouldn't understand it. But take it from me, racism is almost non-existent amongst football players. We don't see color. We see people and we see teammates. In this case, in my opinion, was not and is not about race, and the people that are getting involved at this point are attempting to divide people, and that is a damn shame considering this kid seems like a great kid, and really everything needs to be focused on who he was and not turn this into a race play thing, because it seems to me that this was the last kid to be racist, and his friends were the last kids to be racist. Otherwise, they wouldn't be hanging out with each other. They have been planning this boat trip for months. They wouldn't have included Nolan if they were racist.
This is something that bothers me about it, okay? Nolan, by every account, was a wonderful person. You know,
every account.
A great person. I've yet to see someone come out and say anything negative about any of them, really, other than what is being stirred up here. And so what is happening, in my opinion, is we've got these people that are race chasers. Ben Crump and Al Sharpton and all of these people are getting involved, and they wouldn't have a word to say if it would have been all black kids. They wouldn't have had a word to say if it was all white kids. But they are jumping on this because they see it as an opportunity for lawsuits to be filed and for them to get a cut out of it. Again, it's just an opinion, but they are diminishing the tragedy of the loss of him. And I know someone right now is going, what do you mean they're diminishing? They're the ones getting it in the news. Yeah, but it's getting into the news for the wrong reasons. It should be in the news because we've lost a wonderful soul. We've lost a kid who had nothing but potential, who had the world at his fingertips, and his parents will never get to see him get married and have grandkids. You know, the loss is great. But to turn this into black versus white with zero evidence right now, it's just making a sham of the true situation. You don't think the police would have come out by now and said, we're investigating? They would have said something like, we are looking into some, reports of a possible, fist fight, or we are looking into or questioning people, blah, 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 blah. But what it sounds like from everyone that has had their input is he was interested in a girl. There was a girl that was on the island that he thought was beautiful or whatever. He was going to spend time with that girl. This story has been pretty much unanimous that the boat was taking on water that they showed up in.
The bilge pump failed.
Failed. And look, I've grown up in boats where everything seems to go wrong. And that is one of the things that's
something
happened.
Always goes wrong.
Okay. Yeah. And I know we talked about boating, Jim and I did earlier. You pull your plug and you ride wide open until your water runs out, right? So your boat doesn't sink.
Till you get to shore. That's right.
And you can't tell me right now. I remember being in my 20s, early 20s. If I thought some dude was hot and I was hanging out, my friend said, "Hey, we're taking a walk. Take the boat. I want to hang out with the hot dude. I'll find a way home." There's people everywhere we know.
That's right. And it's important to mention that there is no dispute that, one of the questions was, well, they left in such a hurry. They had his cell phone, all these things. Yeah, they did. They left in such a hurry because they were taking on water on that boat. And there's actually dispatch communication between one of the kids and the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources. And the caller stated, "Our bilge pump stopped working. We're sinking. Can y'all please come?" and requested a tow back to the mainland to get the boat, quote, unsank. There were approximately 7 people on board that boat at the time. And so these people are saying, why did they leave so fast? Why? Your boat is freaking sinking. When you tell your boy, "Hey man, let's go. The boat is sinking. We got to get out of here." And he's with a girl, and I get it. And he's like, "Look, I'm having a good time. I'm talking to this new girl. Y'all go ahead and go." They're going to go. You didn't, quote unquote, leave your friend. You said, "Dude, either come on or hang with your lady here." And that's what happened. From there, those kids that are involved, that everybody seems to be pointing this microscope at, that's all they know. From there, that's all they know. Why did they have his phone? Because exactly what Kelly said. You leave a phone on a boat when you're in the water. Yeah. You just do. And this is like waist deep water. Everybody's actually in the water, with a beer in their hand.
And you're having a good time. And I saw some numbnut online say, cell phones are waterproof now. Everybody knows that.
Salt water will screw up a cell phone. It's totally different and regardless of that, I don't bring my phone in a tub, and I know my phone's waterproof. If I accidentally drop it, fine, but I'm not going to sit there and sink it in my tub.
Exactly. So people are being ridiculous. Everyone needs to calm down, and I'm going to make a gonna go out here and I'm gonna tell you what I think's gonna happen. I think they're gonna look into all of the cell phone records and the cell phone data from all of these kids. I think that they're gonna see chronic calls and texts to Nolan that are gonna become more frequent over time because they're realizing that they can't get a hold of him. I think that everything is gonna back up what these kids are saying. And whenever they say that the autopsy is undetermined, it's because he's been in the water so long. There's also marine life in that water that will feed on the body and a lot of things.
Rocks in that water that you're going to bang against that are going to cause bruising.
Right. Well, and here's the other thing, though. Bruising does not occur after death. Bruising occurs before death, okay? So if there's no massive bruising on the body that they can find, then that in and of itself, to me, is a clue. I know they said that there was the red thing on the skull, underneath the skin or whatever. Well, y'all, I mean, if he was drowning and if his head were to bump on a log or hit something, those things are going to happen. So I just believe in evidence. I firmly believe in evidence. We have to live in a world where we believe in evidence. We've got a group of friends who are not only mourning the loss of their friend, but they're also having to defend themselves against the world. I think everyone needs to calm down. Let's wait for the evidence to come out. And people like Ben Crump and Al Sharpton need to take a seat. Let that family grieve. Let everybody grieve. And then let's make a conclusive decision based on facts, based on evidence.
And I agree. And last thing on that, something to keep in mind, Ben Crump is a civil rights attorney, a civil attorney. He sues people for a living. That's what he does. He's not a criminal attorney. So that's important to note.
It is. It is. And my genuine heart, soul, prayers, thoughts are with Nolan's family. They're 100%. Suffering. They are suffering.
They are suffering, and that's a good point, Kelly. My heart goes out to his mother. She lost her baby.
And
She's looking for answers, and his daddy, and they're looking for answers. And in my opinion, the only people that really have a right to come out and give an opinion other than what we're seeing in the investigation is his parents.
Absolutely.
Whether they're right or wrong, I'm not in their place, and I respect whatever they think needs to be done. That's fine.
Amen.
They have a right to say that, but people running around, acting as if there's all this evidence that some foul play occurred, show it to me.
Yeah.
Because everything I've seen doesn't show it to me.
Exactly. All right, let's go right here into our backyard in Baton Rouge. All right. Now, I know I kind of giggled when he was going over the topics, y'all. It's not funny at all. It's just so cliche that you're like, oh gosh. But
right. 2
inmates allegedly dragged another inmate from his cell block and raped him in the East Baton Rouge Parish prison. And this is according to the sheriff's office. James Merritt, 22 years old, and Latrell Baker, 20 years old, were both arrested on counts of first-degree rape and second-degree battery. Baker is being held with a $600,000 bond. Merritt is being held with an $800,000 bond. Now, when we talk about prison rape, there's always off-color jokes and, that kind of stuff happens. But I want you to listen to what this victim suffered. On June 19th, police responded to a local hospital where they found the victim suffering from severe physical injuries, claiming that he had been held down by 2 inmates and raped in prison. Now, according to Merritt's arrest warrant, the victim was repeatedly kicked while he was held down and sodomized with a wooden broomstick. The victim sustained a perforated colon requiring surgery, and he has a colostomy bag now. And if you're not familiar with that, that's the bag that they have to input that your body then poops into because his rectum and all of that has been so damaged. He also had broken ribs, a collapsed lung, and numerous lacerations, according to the arrest warrant. Last week, the victim identified through a photographic lineup that Merritt and Baker were the 2 individuals who participated in the attack. While the investigation was going on, Merritt was released from prison after being held for simple kidnapping and theft of a motor vehicle. But on Saturday, he was arrested in connection with the alleged rape at his parents' home in Baton Rouge. Baker was being held in the Parish prison on 2 counts of attempted second-degree murder and theft of a motor vehicle.
Yeah, and East Baton Rouge Parish Prison, if you're from around this area, it's a tough place.
That's not where you want to be.
No, and you are actually very good friends with the warden.
I'm very good friends with the warden. And to that note, she is a stellar warden.
And we said she.
Yeah, it's a female warden.
That's right.
She is very, she's had a long career in corrections. She is probably one of the most well-versed, well-trained, I think a lot of her. But the reality of the situation in a prison is that the warden can't be everywhere all the time.
Right.
And things happen even under your command that you find out about later. And when we talk about rape in prison, guys, it is real. The fact that they sodomized him with a broomstick does not make it any less of a rape. And they hurt this guy. They ripped his colon. So that's serious. And
yeah,
you don't deserve that. I mean, nobody deserves that.
And this guy apparently was no angel. I mean, he was in Parish prison on 2 counts of attempted second-degree murder.
Either way,
not saying anybody deserves that,
but have you ever gotten so mad, Jim, that you go, you know what? I'm going to go shove a broomstick up someone's ass. Like, how do we get there? These are animals. They're acting like fucking animals, and they deserve to go to prison.
All right, let's move to a little lighter story.
Okay.
We're going to do an utterly unrelated. I intentionally put it in this order because that one was so heavy.
Yeah.
I'm like, we need to lighten it up after that one. That's what we're going to do. Utterly unrelated, y'all, is a story that we come across that while it may not be a crime, it is hella interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So a Florida woman was not happy with the license plate she recently received. And y'all, have you ever got your new plate in? Maybe I'm the only weird person that does this, but I'm always excited to see if it just accidentally was personalized. Maybe I didn't pay for the personalization, but it comes in and it reads some sort of way.
Yeah. And actually, my daughter's very first license plate that came in, my husband and I, we opened it up to show her. My husband's jaw dropped because the letters were ho at the beginning. And we were like, no.
H-O?
No, yeah.
Or H-O-E?
It was H-O-E, I believe. And we were like, great.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
You just never know what you're going to get. It's like a box of chocolates. But in this case, a Florida woman not happy with the license plate she received. The letters and numbers she received have kind of a risque message, and the plate has become a topic of conversation at her retirement community. Yes, she's older. Opinions have been split. Quote, I didn't know I was getting a plate. That from Nancy Stritto. And when Stritto went to collect her mail, she got quite a surprise. She found a new license plate with her vehicle registration renewal. So she assumed she was going to get just the sticker you put on your regular plate, but they actually issued her a new plate. So she looks at it and she said, I don't think so. The plate read SQZA55, which from a distance, those fives read as S. So she said, so basically it looks like it says squeeze ass.
Squeeze ass. Right there in the retirement community.
She said, quote, I don't think a woman who lives in a senior community that's going to be 77 years old next month will be driving around with what this plate has to say. The plate has become the talk around her retirement community. I can only imagine the hilarious conversation there, especially among the men. Florida license plates have been made at the state prison in North Florida for almost 100 years. They're then funneled through county agencies. Her plate was mailed from the Broward Property Tax Collector's Office. So basically, no one wanted to talk about it when this reporter on this story went to talk to the office that made this plate. And so they left and they did some more digging and they found out the state has said, okay, we'll replace squeeze ass. So they're going to replace that plate. But she said, actually, being over 70, I might like a few honks when I'm going down the road. I may end up keeping the plate. An office manager, as I said, confirmed they're going to replace it. They deem it offensive, so they're going to replace it for free. But I love it, and it reminds me of the Seinfeld episode where you had the ass man with Cosmo Kramer.
Ass man? Yeah. Oh no, these don't belong to me. I'm not the ass man. I think there's been a mistake.
What's your name again?
Cosmo Kramer.
Cosmo Kramer. You are the ass man.
No, I'm not the ass man.
Well, as far as the state of New York is concerned, you are.
One of my favorite episodes ever.
Yeah.
And so Squeeze Ass. Why
Squeeze
can't
Ass.
I get Squeeze
I
Ass?
know.
I'd be riding all over the place with Squeeze Ass.
I would too. That's awesome.
You would?
Hell yeah. Absolutely. I remember one time too, I almost got in a road rage incident behind a license plate because I don't remember what it said, but it was something kind of along those lines. And once I figured out what it was, I thought it was hilarious. So I picked up my phone and I took a picture of it in traffic to send to my husband to say, look at this. Well, the woman took offense to it apparently and thought that I was like, I don't know, stalking her or something. She started screaming and hollering, flipping me off. And I was like, look here. Don't be putting a cool plate on your car if you can't take the celebrity that follows it. It was a damn good plate.
There you go.
All right.
Squeeze ass. Yes, man. Proctology.
That's right. I do remember my old plate had a DAT on it, and I love that because, we're who dat, we're the Saints. And so I had the DAT. Thought that was cool.
I never had a cool plate. It was like numbers in one letter.
Oh, big.
Or two letters spread apart.
What would yours be if you could put anything
I already
in
have one. Says leaders.
Oh, that's right. You do.
I had to pay for mine.
I wish mine could say like hell yeah. HAILYEH. Hell.
There you go.
Don't steal that if it's available.
From the DMV.
Send it to me.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to New Jersey. And this is a long one in the running here because after more than 2 decades evading justice, one of Rhode Island's most notorious fugitives has been captured in a dramatic maritime operation involving the U.S. Marshal Service, FBI, Rhode Island State Police, and the U.S. Coast Guard. 70-year-old Ronald Fisher, a former anesthesiologist, was taken into custody this past Thursday while operating a 56-foot sailboat approximately 1 hour offshore from New Jersey. The vessel, reportedly named the Silver Lining and registered under the alias Richard Graydon, marked the end of a lengthy international manhunt that began in 2005. Fisher fled Rhode Island during his criminal trial for the first-degree sexual assault. It doesn't say of who, but it just of a first-degree sexual assault. He was later convicted in 2003 of the rape of a woman aboard his boat, the Lion King. Authorities say he disappeared before the verdict and spent the ensuing 21 years living under false identities while sailing extensively. The breakthrough came from a credible tip received by the Rhode Island Violent Fugitive Task Force. The U.S. Marshals worked in coordination with federal and state partners, tracking Fisher to the waters off New Jersey. The U.S. Coast Guard intercepted the sailboat, boarding it without incident and taking the fugitive into custody. Fisher fled Rhode Island during his criminal trial in 2005, and like we said, was later convicted, even though he wasn't there. And it says, we are proud of the persistent, coordinated work that brought him to justice. They never stopped seeking justice for his victim. Fisher now faces additional charges, including failing to appear for trial and unlawful flight to avoid prosecution. It remains unclear when he will be returned to Rhode Island to face the full weight of his convictions and his new charges. During his time on the run, Fisher reportedly lived a transient, seafaring lifestyle, using aliases and maintaining a low profile to avoid detection. His case was featured on America's Most Wanted. I need to look that up. I'd be curious to watch it, which helped keep his name and image in circulation among law enforcement and the public for years. Officials praised the dedication of both current and retired troopers who pursued the case for over 2 decades.
It's amazing that he was able to stay on the run for 21 years in a time when computers existed and everything. This isn't, it's not as impressive when someone from the 60s was able to stay on the run for 20 years because you had to do what I call real police work back then. There wasn't cameras everywhere and these flock cameras that could, and license plate readers. I mean, this guy in the cusp of technology has still been able to maintain on the run that long. Which is pretty impressive. But living on a boat for 21 years. Well, he was an anesthesiologist. He probably had a ton of money he was putting aside.
But for 20 years, huh?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, you can be cheap.
So maybe he wasn't
on a boat
on the run. He was on the float.
Yeah.
That was cheesy. Man, give me credit for it.
That was horrible.
Jim, you hate
anyway, glad they caught him.
Me too.
All right, let's go to New York, and we're going to go to Schenectady.
Schenectady?
Yep. Schenectady.
Are you saying that right?
I'm saying it right. You know how I know I'm saying it right?
You looked it up.
No, I've done a story on it before on Exposed because this is where Lisa Frankowski is from. And Lisa actually sent me this story, so shout out to my favorite New Yorker. We're going to talk about the Schenectady, which is her county. Mm-hmm. We're going to talk about the sheriff's office. Sad story here. They're mourning the loss of a canine named Leonidas. Love the name. Leonidas. Do you know who Leonidas was?
Why you always ask me stuff to look dumb?
That would be a no.
Leonidas is what you get whenever you overwork a muscle in your elbow.
I believe it was like one of those Greek gods or something.
I just made something up.
To do with
I got
that,
Leonidas.
I just love the name. But it was an 8-year-old veteran German Shepherd who died from heat exhaustion, sadly, just 2 days before the 4th of July after the temperature monitoring and alarm system in his patrol vehicle failed to activate. And I was not familiar they had those, so I'm going to have Kelly explain it. But according to the sheriff's office, Leonidas was a dedicated partner of Deputy Daniel Coppola. A preliminary investigation determined the advanced heat alarm system in emergency alarms designed to immediately alert officers to vehicle or climate control malfunctions. They just didn't function as intended in the accident. Quote, the loss of Leonidas is felt deeply across our entire department and the Schenectady community. That from Sheriff Dominique D'Agostino. I think I got that one right too, Italian. So he said that in a statement. Leonidas is not just a working dog. He was a protector, a dedicated public servant, and a beloved member of law enforcement. The sheriff's office emphasized its focus on supporting Deputy Coppola during this difficult time while conducting a thorough review of the mechanical and technical failures. All department canine vehicles are equipped with these safety systems, making malfunction particularly concerning. Leonidas served the community for nearly a decade, contributing to law enforcement efforts through specialized training and strong bond with the handler. And so he's going to be missed. But Kelly, explain to us what they're talking about with these alarm systems.
These dogs, first of all, let's start here. These dogs are very highly trained. You know, they invest a lot of time with their handlers. I know locally our handlers, you know, the dogs, they're Dutch, right? So,
they're Belgian Malinois.
Yeah, we have Malinois and there's other types for other purposes. But
drug dogs aren't Malinois.
So, but, you know, the bond between handler and canine is real. It's kind of like your own pet at home. And some dogs are going to do better with other handlers. And so they become almost like one, you know, like this is your partner. This is your buddy. This is the guy that comes running to help you. And he takes down suspects and he protects you. And then to know that the very system that's installed and put in place to keep your pet or to keep the canine cool failed is just horrific because these dogs know they're working dogs. When it all comes down to it, these are not pets. These are working dogs and they stay in these vehicles all day long with their handlers. And so the cars will remain running. So if you've ever walked past a unit while you're going you're going shopping and you walk past a unit and the truck's running, there may not actually be an officer inside of it, but that unit's going to remain running with the air control and all of that for that canine. And so there's different systems at play, but the officer will have a button on his rig wherever. So if he had to release the canine, he could press the button, the canine's coming out. But when that system fails, it's not only going to be horrific to think about what the dog went through, but also these dogs cost upwards of 20 grand, 15, 20 grand. And so it's a huge asset that's been lost to this agency as well. And I don't mean to minimize it as if he's just property, but there's a whole thing here. You know, it's like losing your partner and those systems can't fail.
Yeah.
You know, that's not going to work for me. And if I was working with that sheriff's office, I know things go wrong, but the whole reason we purchased this system was to protect our dog, and then it failed.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, at the end of the day, as sad as it is, it's a machine.
They
can break.
It is.
And in this situation, apparently it broke. And I'm assuming, Kelly, that let's say this guy had been on a call and he was inside of an apartment building.
Right.
When this occurred, he would get an alarm that said he should have gotten
a note, yes,
an alert saying the air conditioner is turned off or something like that.
Right, or the temperature has reached above a certain point, and to check your dog. But look, the canine handlers I know, they're checking in on their dogs anyway. So my assumption would be, he could have even gone in for lunch. Think about it. You go into a restaurant, you take in your lunch break. How hot does it get in a car very quickly? And so this dog could have died within 30 minutes, but I know that he's hurting. I know the officer is feeling terrible. It's a tragedy. And so,
it's like losing a family.
Yeah. And so, again, thoughts, prayers, and thank that pup for his service. And
he's a beautiful, beautiful pup.
Yep.
To say the least. So if you're on Patreon, go look at the picture.
To that note, I would like to say something real quick off the cusp, but we have a local canine that was recently passed away. His name was Casey. He worked with our sheriff's office, and Casey was a drug dog, a black lab, and he was in and out of my classroom for many, many, many years, and he was recently lost last week. Just from old age and all of that, and he was sick. So to his handler, Deputy Ellis, I want to just extend my my heartfelt, I'm sorry for the loss of your pup. He did great things and was a great officer and great tool in the classroom, and I know in our community.
Very good.
All right, let's go to Florida. We're going to go to Port Canaveral, Florida, where a Georgia man with an active murder-related warrant was among 6 cruise passengers taken into custody at Port Canaveral on Friday, July 17th, as law enforcement officers checked travelers during disembarking and embarking. Let me ask you something, Jim.
Yep.
If you were wanted for murder, would you be going on a cruise?
If I was wanted for murder?
Yeah.
No.
I would think that to be the dumbest shit you could do. But then again, we've never claimed murderers are the smartest.
Right.
But according to the Brevard County Sheriff's Office, Martell Murray of Georgia and his cabin mate, Kendaria Burney of Leon County, Florida, were arrested early in the day. Murray faced a warrant for violating conditions of his release tied to prior murder charges, while Burney was detained on a violation of probation. The Sheriff's Office shared details on social media with a touch of dark humor, saying, quote, "Luckily, these two still got to vacation together at the lodge, even though they got accommodations with separate sleeping quarters." Both Murray and Burney are being held without bond. Now, there were additional arrests, too, which is pretty interesting. Veronica Hamlet of Tampa, Florida, was detained on an outstanding warrant for failure to appear, and she was later released on a $1,000 bond. James Bruton of Allendale, South Carolina, was arrested for violation of probation and released on a $500 bond on July 18th. The final 2 passengers, who were not publicly named, were stopped while disembarking. Both were on felony probation and lacked approval to leave the country, violating their probation terms by going on a cruise. Brevard County authorities routinely run warrant checks on cruise passengers at the busy port, a major hub for departures and arrivals to the Bahamas and the Caribbean. Officials describe the incidents as part of standard enforcement efforts to apprehend individuals with active legal issues. No further details on the specific ships involved or the underlying murder case against Murray were immediately released in the sheriff's announcement.
Yeah, not the smartest thing to do. And I'll tell you what, they take security very seriously on cruise lines.
As they should.
And I have personal experience. I don't think I've ever told this story on here, but
ooh, I'm ready.
I went on a cruise to Alaska with my wife probably 5 years ago, longer than that, maybe about 8 years ago. And we go to Alaska, had a great trip, come back, and we're getting into our port, which is Seattle. So we had to fly home from Seattle, but we caught the boat in Seattle. So we get back to Seattle and we're disembarking the boat, and I get pulled out of the line, like to get off the boat. And my wife gets pulled out of the line, but they separate us. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? And so the guy's talking to me and he's asking me who I was and who was the person I was with. And he starts asking me a lot of questions about, like, my wife. What's her birth date?
Did you know it?
What is your address?
Did you know
yeah. How long have you been married? A lot of I'm like, I think.
Are these trick questions?
Yeah. Just a lot of very personal questions that only a husband, I guess, would know, or someone very close to that person. Mm-hmm. Well, they were also talking to my wife, and I could tell it was a different conversation than I was having. Mm-hmm. All the smoke cleared, y'all, and they were making sure that I was not trafficking my wife. I swear, they were asking my wife, like, are you really with him? I don't know. Maybe they thought she...
Bro, you look like a trafficker?
They thought, no, it was almost like, no way she's with him. Some shit like that. I'm telling you, I was like, what the hell? You don't think...
Ma'am, are you really with him?
You should be asking her if she's really with me.
Maybe she's trafficking me.
Yeah.
Maybe Wendy was trafficking you.
Damn right.
Jim.
But, I mean, no shit. They were asking me all kinds of things, and then come to find out, of course, I talked to my wife after that, and I'm like, what were they saying to you? And they were asking her, are you really supposed to be with him? And checking her stuff, making sure her ID was legit, asking her address, all those things, social security number. Yeah. I don't know if somebody on the boat may have misreported something and said, I think that dude's, I don't think they're together. Yeah. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you what, I was like, dang, after we got out of there, I was like, security on a boat is legit, man.
Yeah. Well, and they
freaked me out. I'm like, what do you want me to do? That's my wife.
I married her.
They even asked my wife they even asked us for our marriage certificate, if I'm not mistaken.
Why would you have that on a damn boat?
Because we're going out of the country. And there was something like we crossed out of the country. I don't remember exactly how it worked, but I want to say, and I'll come back next week because my wife's going to hear this and confirm I screwed something up. But I want to say they asked for, and she had it. I want to say it was one of the things listed that
maybe
you had to bring with you.
Maybe that's why they thought you were trafficking.
I don't remember, but I'll get clarification from her. But they were convinced we weren't married. It was almost like they were trying to see if I was trying to sneak someone over the border. I guess. I don't know what it was.
This is nowhere near that cool. But I will tell you, when we went on our honeymoon, when we first got to the ship, I don't know what I thought was going to happen, but I apparently thought I was just going to be drunk the whole time because I had bought tons of big old bottles of wine. Well, as we were getting our stuff out of the car to get up on the cruise ship, well, you can bring up to so much, right? But then I'm looking at it and I'm like, what the hell is wrong with me? I was like, I can't drink all this. So I just put
you get free alcohol.
I don't, Jim. I don't know. I was in the throes of life changes. Anyway, so I just put the big bottles back in the car and I was like, I ain't bringing all this shit. I'm going on a cruise. So we go on our cruise, we have a good time. We come back, we open our car doors. The freaking heat had blown the corks.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Do you know what wine smells like after a week?
No.
In the heat in your car? So we had to drive home like gagging the whole way because it smelled like rotten berries in our car. But
there you have it.
We made it, guys.
And it still smells like rotten berries in your car.
Yeah, my car's pretty dirty, y'all. He gets on me every time about it.
Let's go to Lustful Lawbreakers. All right, and we're going to go back to Florida, and I'm going to tell you about a little man with a foot problem. So after repeatedly asking a woman for photos of her feet, a Florida man allegedly exposed himself and then followed the victim around a Lowe's home improvement store before running away. This according to police. So Landon Spearman, who is 20.
Spearman.
I know.
Why do they always have these names?
Was arrested for indecent exposure in connection with an occurrence that occurred last Tuesday at the business in an Orlando suburb. According to the warrant, the victim told police she was completing an Instacart delivery at Lowe's home improvement store when an unknown man approached her and repeatedly requested pictures of her feet. Oh, yeah, that's normal, right?
Yeah.
So after declining the man's request, she, I guess, felt pressured. She accepts his phone number in an effort to end the encounter and continue scanning her stuff and getting out of there. As she walked away, the man, later identified as Spearman, called out to her. And when she turned around, Spearman intentionally exposed his flaccid penis and said, call me for some D, and I'll let you fill in the rest of that. So the victim said Spearman then followed her into Lowe's until she approached a group of customers, which kind of caused him to leave the area. During a subsequent police interview, he admitted to the victim's account of the incident, didn't deny it. He was arrested and booked into jail. He was released on a $1,000 bond, and he'll be back in court August 19th on the misdemeanor case. And what surprised me about this whole thing is it was a misdemeanor. You would think that would be a felony.
Yeah, I mean,
you're going to approach a woman and say, "Can I? You mind if I take pictures of your feet?" And she's like, "Hell, no, you're not going to take pictures of my feet." And then you pull out your ding ding.
Well,
go figure.
What is it about feet that become
I don't know, bro.
a turn on? Because feet to me are gross.
Bro, there's people out there that love them some feet.
Why?
They just love them. They want to put their hands all over them.
I mean, I do have my toes always painted, but I don't expect anyone to flap a pecker at me over them. It ain't nothing to call home about.
All right.
That's wild.
Well, don't run into Mr. Spearman.
I won't.
He going to want pictures of them.
Well, you know what? I'm going to make my own money with my feet. Remember, we're going to put them on, what was it? Not Whatnot.
Whatnot. You can put them on Whatnot.
On Whatnot.
OnlyFans, I guess.
OnlyFans, yeah. All right.
All right. Well, there you have it. That is this week's Lustful Lawbreakers.
Well, why don't we now move into some Foolish Felons?
Okay.
Right after that. So a Florida woman is facing criminal charges after allegedly stabbing her friend with scissors after he told her that she couldn't drink a beer in an Uber.
Well,
that's reasonable. This past Monday, Lynn Marie Zamora, which the Zamora caught me off guard at first, because remember, we had that teacher Zamora that was abusing her student.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't that also in Florida, or do we not?
I don't know.
Either way, Lynn Marie Zamora, 32, was arrested and charged with aggravated battery with a deadly weapon. The incident unfolded that night when a deputy with the Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office was called to the scene where the victim said Zamora became irritated with him because she wanted to drink a beer in an Uber that they were taking to a friend's house. After telling Zamora several times that she couldn't drink alcohol in the rideshare vehicle, she took out a pair of scissors from her purse, stabbed him in the left bicep and the left calf, breaking the skin. He was taken to a local hospital where he was treated for his injuries. The Uber driver confirmed what happened in the vehicle. Zamora was arrested and is being held in the jail on a $7,500 bond. This past Tuesday, she did appear in court where her defense attorney asked that she be given hospital treatment. The prosecutor, however, asked the judge for a monetary bond, saying Zamora is a flight risk with a criminal record.
I didn't even know you couldn't drink beer in an Uber.
Wouldn't that be an open container? You can't have a...
Yeah, but I guess, regardless of you being a passenger. Yeah. But I mean, people, you talk about that, though. We're in Louisiana where you can get daiquiris through a drive-thru.
Yeah, but as long as you don't break the seal.
They don't have no seals on them. They give you a straw with a paper on top.
I know. Don't break the seal.
Whatever.
Look, first of all, why you got scissors in your purse? I mean, and then to pull them out and stab them?
Probably for that reason.
I know, but
a beer, because you can't drink a beer. So.
I'd be more inclined to pour the beer on somebody in anger, not stab them over it.
In front of witnesses.
Yeah. You know that Uber driver was like,
don't
what
piss her
the
off.
Shit is going on in my car?
Time to get out the Uber.
Yeah.
That's what I'd have told him. All right, let's go to the True Crime Time Machine. And we're going to go to July 23rd of 1993. And I remember distinctly when this occurred, and that is the murder of James Jordan Sr. Mm-hmm. For those of you not familiar with James Jordan Sr., he is the devoted father, or was the devoted father, of NBA superstar Michael Jordan. He was shot and killed in a random roadside robbery while taking a nap in his car along a North Carolina highway. The murder sent shockwaves through the sports world and the nation. And of course, Michael Jordan himself was never the same after that. Jordan, who was 57, elder Jordan, had been returning home to Charlotte after attending a friend's funeral in Wilmington, North Carolina. He pulled his red Lexus SC400, which was a gift from his son. And it actually had a vanity plate that said UNC, University of North Carolina, 0023. He pulls that off the highway, and he was really tired, felt like he was going to fall asleep driving, so he pulls off to sleep. And according to prosecutors and testimony, teenagers Daniel Green and Larry Demary, they were both 18 and longtime friends from that county with prior criminal records. They see that luxury vehicle. They approach it with the intent to rob Jordan. As Jordan began to wake up, Green allegedly shot him once in the chest with a .38 caliber revolver. The pair then stole items from the car, including Jordan's wallet, an NBA championship ring from Michael Jordan, and his cell phone before dumping the body in a swampy area near McCall, South Carolina, which is about 30 miles away. Jordan's badly decomposed body was discovered by a fisherman on August 3rd of 1993 in a creek, and due to the condition of the body, he was initially a John Doe and was even cremated before being identified August 13th through dental records. The breakthrough in the case came from calls made on Jordan's stolen cell phone, which police traced to Green and Demary. The suspects were arrested on August 15th of 1993, charged with first-degree murder, armed robbery, and conspiracy, and Demary later pleaded guilty and testified against Green, claiming Green was a shooter. Green maintained his innocence, and of course he said Demary was a shooter. In 1996, Green was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life, and Demary also received a life sentence. And the case fueled some intense media speculation because they were thinking Michael Jordan, had some pretty staunch gambling habits at this time in his life, and they were thinking his gambling debts were something to do with this initially. All that untrue. Michael Jordan was at the peak of his career with the Chicago Bulls during this time, and as far as both Green and Demary, they continue to serve life sentences. But I remember that happening, and all I could think was, what do you think these dudes thought when they found out we just killed Michael Jordan's daddy?
Yeah.
And they were probably big fan. Everybody loved Michael Jordan in 1993.
Yeah, my husband's a huge fan still. He loves Michael Jordan.
Oh, absolutely.
And how could you not?
Right.
He's the GOAT. And to be just minding your own business. Not that any murder is okay, right? But to just be minding your own business. You're not bothering a soul. And because
sleeping after a funeral.
Right. And because somebody you couldn't go make it on their own, couldn't go, grind, make their money and earn the things that they wanted. They're willing to just take your life over a freaking car and then stupid enough to use your cell phone.
Yeah.
That's a shame, but I know it's been a long time, but I'm sure that Michael Jordan still thinks about it to this day.
He was very close to his dad.
Yeah.
Very close.
And I'm sure his number one supporter, and just be wiped out over nothing. And that arrest, by the way, was on my birthday, August 15th.
All right.
So
well, now everybody knows when you were born.
I was born on August 15th.
So y'all fill out them credit card applications.
So, all right, let's go ahead and give you an update to this case that we gave you a while back. It's kind of an odd one, but a Florida man who was caught having a sexual encounter with a vacuum cleaner is getting off, which no pun intended. He's getting off with probation after taking a plea deal for his indecent exposure arrest. 51-year-old Kevin Dale Westerhold pled no contest to a reduced misdemeanor indecent exposure charge after police say he performed a sex act with a vacuum cleaner outside a home in a gated resort community near Disney World. Witnesses provided photos and videos of Westerhold to investigators of him pleasuring himself with a vacuum in broad daylight. That's according to the police report. Westerhold has been sentenced to 12 months of probation. He was fined $271, and he was also ordered to undergo a psychosexual evaluation.
I would be interested to see what that evaluation reads. Because I don't know. I mean, what the hell is wrong with people? Now, the sentence, should he have done 10 years in prison for having sex with a vacuum cleaner? Probably not.
Did the vacuum consent?
The problem I have is he did it in public, and that makes me a little bit nervous. If he's in the privacy of his own home with his vacuum cleaner, I mean, that's one thing. But what a weirdo, man. Yeah. What a weirdo.
And the bizarre thing is, was he using it as a penis pump? Because a vacuum doesn't...
I have no idea, Kelly.
I have a really hard time.
I haven't put that much thought into it.
Well, I have, because I have a good vacuum, and I still can't get all the crap up out of my carpet that my kids leave. And this guy's over there having, wild, outlandish encounters with his... What kind of vacuum was it?
I don't know.
I need to know.
Well, find out and give us an update.
It's got good
week. Make it the
volume.
third. We'll have more updates on that vacuum cleaner story.
We're going to start getting
any other story
sponsors.
in the history of Crime Wire Weekly.
We're going to start getting vacuum sponsors because I'm all about it.
Right. All right, folks, let's go into overtime. All right, and we're going to start off in Pennsylvania, and I'm going to tell you about Philadelphia Eagles running back Saquan Barkley and his family, who were safe but shaken after an attempted burglary at their Pennsylvania home. This was early this past Saturday morning. Police responded to a report of a burglary in progress at the Barkley residence. This is at 5 a.m. Officers arrived to find the suspects had already fled the scene, and police confirmed that at least one intruder entered the home while Barkley, his fiancée, and their two young children were inside. Now, no one was physically injured, though the family was understandably unsettled. Quote, "Their home, and our main concern is that the residents at that home at that time were unharmed," which they were. This from Captain Tyler Moyer. Now, authorities believe multiple suspects were involved and have released images of a white SUV believed to be connected to the incident. It does not appear anything was stolen, but the investigation is ongoing. The Chester County DA's office is assisting with the investigation and has asked the public to check their home security cameras for any suspicious activity around 5 a.m. that morning. Investigators are examining whether this break-in is linked to broader patterns of thefts targeting professional athletes' homes in recent years. Similar incidents have affected other high-profile players, this prompting concerns about organized rings like this. Barkley is entering his third season with the Eagles after helping lead them to a Super Bowl victory, and he has not publicly commented on the incident. What a hell of a player he is.
Yeah.
But hopefully they'll catch those people soon.
You know, there's nothing more invasive or more, you feel just so unnerved when some stranger's been in your home. I find that to be just one of the most, the feeling is so bizarre, you know, that's supposed to be your safe place. And then these people just, bust up in there. And then to not know if they're targeting you because of your status as a player or not, too. I'd be worried about my babies and my fiance and everything else. 5 a.m. is an odd break-in time, too, you'd think.
Yeah, I guess.
Because the sun's coming. Well, I don't know. I guess it depends. But most burglaries are like that.
1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, you'd think they'd be doing it in the middle of the night. But I'm glad he's okay. I'm glad it didn't turn into some type of murder situation, because that would have been terrible. What do you think they're doing, though? If they're targeting these players, are they looking for memorabilia that they can, auction off or whatever? Or do you think it's, is it specifically because he would be a player?
Well, this is exactly right. And this is a major ring. So far, Joe Burrow's house has been broken into. I know Shador Sanders' house has been broken into. We covered those. Also, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, all of those, Saquon Barkley now. But when those people were targeted, they knew they were at away games.
Yeah.
So what a lot of these rings are doing is they know that Joe Burrow's playing the New Orleans Saints in New Orleans that night. And so they go to his home in Cincinnati and they load up on all his jewelry. And they know that these football players have jewelry. They know they have probably some cash in there somewhere, but they know they're rich and they know they got valuables and they know they're not home.
Yeah.
So that's the shocking thing about the Saquon Barkley situation is he was home. It's not even NFL season yet.
Right.
So the fact that they would break in there with people there is the shocking thing. In all these other cases, nobody was home. So I don't know that they knew it was Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
But maybe they did.
I don't know why, but I've thought about it before that if you just became insanely famous one day, just insanely famous, how different your life would be on a security level. You know what I mean? That you can't even be at home without people just knowing you're just innately, you're rich. And so wanting the things that you have, people wanting a piece of you, a part of you, and you're just trying to live your everyday life. Average Joes, we get to go, and I'm not saying, oh, poor rich people, but I am saying when things like when you're targeted because of who you are, we have if it's a hate crime because you're targeted by race or religion or sex or something like that, we find that to be horrible. And then when you're targeted simply because of your fame, that's got to just get old, and
it
when
does.
I watch,
I struggle with it.
I know you do.
Yeah.
That's why you need Ask Grab as your
But I
license
love
plate.
my fans, so they can target me all they want.
Well, but I think about Justin Bieber, and I think about people when we watch their public crash outs and they're, the paparazzi.
Justin Bieber.
I do.
All people.
Well, I have a soft spot for him. But he has tried so many times to plead with like paparazzi and people, look, I'm just trying to have dinner with my family. Look, and they're constantly bombarded. And then you go home and you can't even be safe at home because people are targeting you. That's got to be just a different world I don't know about, I guess.
I guess.
So, all right, let's go to Memphis, Tennessee. And a 36-year-old Memphis mother is facing first-degree murder charges after fatally shooting a 20-year-old man she discovered hiding under her 13-year-old daughter's bed in the early morning hours of July 16th. Now, I'm not going to lie. When I first read this article, I thought, well, good for her. The hell is that man doing under her daughter's bed?
Mm-hmm.
But then, of course, the more that you learn, things become a little bit
I still think good for her, but go ahead.
Okay. Well, Memphis police responded to a shooting call around 1:45 a.m. and officers found Rodarius Morton lying in the front yard with a single gunshot wound to the back of the head. He was pronounced dead at the scene. According to the affidavit, Scott told officers, she saw a dude under my kid's bed and I did what I had to do. Investigators later learned that Scott's daughter had invited Morton into the home. The teenager reportedly told police that her mother had previously warned her that if she ever brought a boy into the house, Scott would, quote, put a hole in his ass, end quote. Mama wasn't playing. Scott has been charged with first-degree murder and employing a firearm during the commission of a dangerous felony. She remains in custody. The incident has sparked intense discussion on social media, with many users expressing support for Scott and calling for her release, while others have criticized the circumstances leading up to the shooting. Some have suggested starting a GoFundMe for her legal defense. Police have not released additional details about the relationship between Morton and the juvenile, citing the ongoing investigation, and the Shelby County District Attorney's Office is expected to present the case to a grand jury. Now, I want to add something to this because there was an update, and this is why I said it gets a little bit strange.
Okay.
And that's because even though he was 20 years old, new information has been released that he had the cognitive level of a 13-year-old. So he was not he was not working at the capacity of a 20-year-old. And so a lot of people...
What the hell does that matter?
Well, because now people are going, well, wait a second. The daughter, who is young, invited him to come over. He didn't have the capacity of, an adult to know that this is, people are looking at this.
This hasn't been proven in court, though, right?
Well, no, it hasn't gone to court, but they have released multiple things as of this morning that we're recording this, saying that he was known to not be of, full mental capacity. So the argument here is whether, who should have been protecting him and not, and watching what he was doing if he was not at that cognitive level. Now, I'm not hating on mom here. I do think that there's an issue with the fact that he was in the front yard with a bullet to the back of the head. So did she shoot him outside of the home? That's different than if he was retreating and she shot him versus if he was under the bed hiding and she shot him. It does change the dynamic here. And the fact that she was arrested tells me that police are probably erring with that thought pattern here, because he's in the front yard with a gunshot wound to the back of the head, which tells me he was retreating. And you cannot do that. I know people would say, no, if that was my kid, but you got to hear me out. If a bad guy breaks into your house and then he's retreating, you can't chase him down the street and shoot him. Right? So I think that is why...
if that's the case, I get it.
Yeah. So again, these are all allegeds. We don't have any confirmation of this. No doctor has come out or said this or anything. So if that's the case, that the mental capacity is diminished, I think that he should have had someone better watching what was going on with him.
Yeah, and all I'll say to that is I have daughters, and I can tell you that if you're 20 years old, I don't care about your mental capacity at that point. If you're under my 13-year-old daughter's bed, I'm going to put a hole in your ass.
In the house, though.
In the house.
You're not going to go shoot them in your front yard.
No, if they're running away, they're running away, and I'm going to call the police. But I'm not going to take the time to determine what your mental capacity is.
Right, nor are you going to ask for an ID.
Yeah, I mean, if I walk in the room and you're in the room, I'm going to put a hole in your ass. Mm-hmm. Just like her. It sounds to me like she's trying to protect her daughter. Now, what occurred, whether she shot him in the house, out of the house, that's to be determined. And certainly if he was running away, she doesn't have the legal right to do that. Mm-hmm. But I see where her mind frame is. And they obviously had a relationship prior to this because the mother said, if he comes over here again, I'm going to put a hole in his ass.
Yeah, I don't know.
So this was an ongoing relationship, apparently.
Well, I don't know if she meant him specifically or a boy in like general. But I'll tell you this, they charged her with... Did
she not say, if he comes over here again, I'm going to put a hole in his ass?
If she ever brought a boy into the house.
Okay.
So, but the fact that they charged her with a first-degree murder tells me this. She had a time to cool off and have reflection before she shot him. And I think that's what this is going to all come down to. You can't just jump and say, oh, this was because this is how muddy it gets, okay? As a mother, you'd like to say, oh my God, a man's in there. He must be, abusing her, using her, or whatever. But in eyes of the law, if you have time to cool off and reflect, and that doesn't mean go on a vacation or go drink a beer and smoke a cigarette. It means that there was enough time for you to realize he was leaving, he was running away, he was whatever. There is a reason she was charged with first-degree murder, and I'm inclined, again, just speculation here, but I am inclined to believe that he was retreating, he made it out of the house, and she shot him while he was leaving, and that's why it's the first-degree murder charge.
First-degree murder could also be from the premeditation, the quote.
Yeah.
Saying, I'm going to put a hole in his ass. So you premeditated that. Premeditation is required for first-degree murder.
Yeah, but premeditation can also be developed within 30 seconds to a minute. I mean, premeditation doesn't have to have days or anything like that either. So, again, if he's leaving and then she goes, oh, screw this, grabs her gun, runs and shoots him, you deserve the first-degree murder charge because that's different than being awoken in the middle of the night to a grown man in your home under your daughter's bed. Right. The circumstances have shifted there. So this will be an interesting one to watch it play out because I think this one's going to stay in the media. But again, they gave her first-degree murder. I'm going to think he was retreating.
All right, let's go to Florida again, man. I've been in Florida 4 or 5 times today, wilding in Florida, and I'm gonna tell you about a Key Largo man accused of kidnapping a teen girl and hiding her in a dryer. And Kelly swears we did this story, and I've explained to her we have not done this story. So,
I feel like
nobody's heard this but Kelly.
Okay. Maybe I was there, Jim.
A 53-year-old Monroe County, Florida man is facing multiple felony charges after authorities said he held a teenage girl hostage and hid her inside of his clothes dryer when she tried to leave his home. Christopher Michael Veit of Key Largo was arrested following a dramatic 911 call from the out-of-county victim. Deputies responded to the residence on Miramar Drive. This is around 11:45 a.m., and they found the teen hiding inside a dryer. According to the sheriff's office, the girl told investigators Veit had restrained her, placed her in the dryer, and taken her cell phone after she expressed her desire to leave. She had reportedly been subjected to ongoing sexual activity with Veit for approximately 2 years. While investigating the scene and collecting evidence, authorities also discovered counterfeit currency, and the U.S. Secret Service was then notified, and so he faces charges including kidnapping, interference with child custody, multiple counts of unlawful sexual activity with a minor. He was booked, and the teen was safely removed and placed in custody of a family member, with Florida Department of Children and Family Services notified.
Listen, this little girl right here better look up to the sky and thank the stars and God above that she is not dead somewhere, because I think that she had broken off more than was expected here, because 2 years of she's been groomed apparently by this guy. that would make her 11, right? Wasn't she 13?
Yeah.
Since she's 11 years old, and then when he's not getting his way, he's going to stuff her in a dryer, take away her phone.
I don't mean to interrupt you,
okay.
but it doesn't specify her age. It just says teenage girl.
Oh, okay. I just totally made that up then. Sorry. But regardless, this is a grown-ass man. He's obviously in some very nefarious things here. But she must have saved her own life. I don't know how she called 911 because he took her phone. But whatever went down here, this is terrifying. And I hope that she recognizes that this was an absolute predator, and she's very, very, very lucky. I'm glad that he's in custody. This would have gone very badly. This is a life saved. To me, this is when we look at cases and we go, my God, what happened here? What could have been done? You actively are seeing a young girl's life saved here. And this is going to probably get bigger than we ever imagined.
Right.
I really think that.
All right.
Let's stay here in Louisiana, and we're going to go to Shreveport. I feel like you picked this one, Jim, this story, because you think she's pretty.
No, I mean, she is pretty. But that's not why I picked the story.
You didn't see the mugshot before you read it? Don't lie.
I mean, I'm sure I did. But I would have, it doesn't matter. It could have been a guy and I would have printed that story. It's so interesting.
I'm just saying. All right. So right here, the Shreveport Caddo Financial Crimes Task Force has arrested Leanne Rigsby following an investigation into the alleged theft of funds from Waterworks Irrigation Incorporated. Investigators learned that Rigsby managed the company, which was owned by her ex-husband, from approximately August of 25 through April of 26. And during that time, she allegedly created a similarly named business and then diverted customer payments into accounts that were under her control. It's kind of genius.
Yeah,
I'm not going to lie.
Pretty sneaky.
All right. So financial records show that multiple checks intended for Waterworks Irrigation Incorporated were deposited into Rigsby's business account, including one check totaling $20,055.28. Because he wouldn't notice that, right?
No
one's going to notice $20,000. Investigators also obtained evidence that customers were directed to send payments to a post office box associated with another business operated by Rigsby. She was arrested for one count of theft and booked into Caddo Correctional Center on July 21st. 2026.
I mean, and this is a good reason on why you should never hire your ex. Whether it's a guy or a girl, don't ever hire your ex or stuff like this is going to happen. And I agree with you. Pretty genius, actually. She sounds like she named her business very similar to his business. So probably she could get away with cashing checks in his business's name. She just changes it around a little bit. And she going to get her money back one way or the other. I guess is the way she felt.
He was Waterworks Irrigation. What if she made it Waterworks Irritation?
It was probably Waterworks Inc. or something like that.
Yeah.
And so if you turn that into the bank, they're not going to question that.
I just don't think like that. So like when I read it, I'm like, that's genius. That's a good scam. I mean, it's bad, but that's a good scam there. But $20,000, you can't siphon that much off at one time.
No, and that's where she really screwed up. One check for $20,000. I mean, if you're putting $400 check here, $400 check there, he may have never missed it. But you go throw $20,000, he's gonna miss it. That was a big job that he didn't get paid for, and he's gonna be like, "Wait a minute," and start digging in there. But she finally got arrested. Never let your ex, work for you.
Right. Just stay miserable and married.
I mean, I guess there's a couple people out there that are honest, but anyway.
Yeah.
All right. That's all we got today. Kelly, any final thoughts?
Yes. I'm going to be looking over my shoulder next time I go on a cruise because they got lots of people on there that have been arrested for murder, and that ain't cool.
That's right. And shout out to the LSU Tigers, who are only 5.5 weeks from football season.
We are so excited.
If y'all don't understand, I go through depression between football seasons.
You don't know how to pick him up off the ground.
Yeah, I am not myself, and then football season hits, and it is on, and SEC Media Week is this week, and I've been watching it, so go Tigers.
LSU's Wednesday, right?
LSU's today.
Oh, is it today?
Lane Kiffin's probably talking right now as we speak.
Oh, we got to go, guys. We got to
go. All right. So thank you so much for listening. Till next time, I'm Jim Chapman.
And I'm Kelly Jennings.
And we are your host of Crime
Wire
Weekly.